Hello, guys. Welcome back to another live at Voice of Crypto with the Whip Lounge. I hope you can hear me. Platforms. Just double checking if it's actually playing everywhere. I think so. Um, as always, guys, you are welcome to ask any questions or leave comments in the comment section if you want to know anything different. Voice of Crypto is commonly hosting the Dijon Summit at Singapore. So if you want to know everything about this event, go to Voice of Crypto website, all links down below. But today we're talking and actually bring someone very, very cool on a stage soon. And before we get into any content, as usual, I'll just do our quick disclaimer. None of this content is a financial advice. You must do your own market research. With that in place, we are ready to start. Today's topic is what's the secret sauce behind a successful token. And for that, I will bring Vortex on a stage. Fedor, can you hear me?
Hello. Thank you for the stage today. So yeah, ready to talk about the current state of the market, about tokens. So ask away.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, if you have any question, let us know. So we would like to know what key factors differentiate successful tokens from those that fail to start.
Yeah, in my opinion, these are three things. That's the product, the marketing, and the market making. So starting with the product, you can say that, for example, there are meme coins which don't have a product, but in my opinion, a meme coin's product is its community. So you can just imagine community as a product. And then we can just define broadly that any project, any token has a product. And at that point, we arrive to the point that if the project that is developed behind the token is good, the token is going to live. If the community is good, the token is going to live. If the some other kind of project like a DeFi application, like game, whatever it is good, the token is going to live. It might not live like its best life without a good marketing or a market maker, but it's going to exist. It's just not going to die long term. If we're talking, if we're going further, if we want like rapid success, attracting capital to the token, getting some blood flowing, we absolutely need marketing and market making. These are the second and third factor. Basically, marketing lets people know about you. Without marketing, there is no successful product, a crypto project ever. And in that sense, it's important for a product for project to not just market that they exist, not just market that you should buy them. It's important to really explain to its audience what the token is about. Like why should people invest in it, why should people hold it, and in better and better detail, because that allows you to not just get like buyers in, but to get competent, knowledgeable holders that will hold long term, because you can get as many short-term buyers as you want, but that won't get you where you want to be unless you just are ready to, unless you're just unloading, which is not like a long-term solution for a successful project. The long-term solution is actually getting knowledgeable audience, getting holders who know why they're here, why they're with you, who will go with the project through market downturns, through hard times. And the third important factor is the market making, of course, because you have to manage, you have to support the market when it's slow, you have to accumulate, you have to build a treasury for the project, you have to manage the flows, not let, for example, market become illiquid when at low times, when, for example, it's like when for majority of the audience it's night or on the weekends, when liquidity organically can be lower. There is absolutely need for a market maker to support the market, to incentivize trading, to keep it liquid, to keep it alive. So, and at the times when it's like really lively, when there's high volatility, the market maker is needed to provide liquidity, to trade with the market, to bring volume, and to allow people to trade in larger and larger bids and create a comfortable market for everyone. So without either of those three, a project cannot be really successful. no matter what kind of project it is. And so I'd say that a failing project doesn't understand one of those three key things. They underinvest in either of the three, or just don't get a good market maker, or just don't invest enough into their marketing and no one knows about them, or they don't have a good product, which is like the most oftenly the case, because it is common knowledge for every project that market makers are needed, but with marketing no one's going to know about you. But many projects really don't understand what is their product, why should people come to them, and what and who, like, why should their audience care about their product, whether it's like a thing set in stone, whether it's a DeFi service, whether it's some yield, or if it's a meme coin, then they're in it for the community, and the token utility is ethereal. It might still exist there, but it's access utility. It's like less tangible kinds of utility than just simple yield generation or profits.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And talking on utility, we also like to know how important is token utility in driving long-term success on a market? How do you see that?
It's actually key. There are ways you can take a meme token that doesn't have like much utility usually, and get it running long term through the hard times. You can do that with a good market maker, with a well planned launch. You can accumulate enough to and trade profitably enough to support it through the hard times. But to really build it long term, and to allow everyone to breathe and not just keep token on life support, you really need some token utility. And there are distinguished at least 11 kinds of token utility, like access utility, like pure monetary utility, like exclusivity, like participation in the community, etc., etc. And the important thing for the project is not to have one or the other kind of utility. There is no better utility or worse utility. It's just important that the community understands the utility the token has, and firstly, that the project understands what kind of utility they're going for. Because you see around a lot of pitch decks that have like uh, 5 kinds of utility listed, like you can do this with our token, you can do that with our token, and honestly, most of that utility is really like is not that important for anyone. It's just there to be present. It's not something really useful for the people. It's just that the person who wrote the pitch deck, he knows that there should be some kind of utility. He didn't really know what his project is about, so he pulled some kind of utility out of nowhere and put it in there. No, it's important that when you think of a token, when you think we're going to launch a token as a company, we should think first what the token utility is going to be. And it's totally fine if you have a meme coin. You just have to understand that within your community, your token has to have some role. So the utility might be as abstract as can be. It can be like just access to something. It can be the amount you're participating in something. It can be even the charity, but it has to be the first thing you're building the token around. Even if you're building it around the community, token has to have a utility within the community, and that serves as a great floor for the token. It creates the minimum level at which the token is going to hold through any hard times. If there is a sell-off, if there is a huge market downturn, you really when there is a huge market downturn, unless you are an incredibly rich project, you are unlikely to be able to hold a high floor against the entire market. However, if your community understands the token utility you have, and the utility is there, and they are really sure of that utility. Again, no matter how abstract it is, no matter how absurd it can be like buying paper hats, but if people really like that utility, they're gonna keep using it and keep holding that token through whatever comes forth.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm also, very into utility. I think that's what we like to see on the market. And it's very great that you mentioned the meme coin example too, So it could be anything, but of course, if matter for some people, that's the main point, right? So, talking a little bit more on the community side, what role does the community engagement play in the success of a token, on your opinion?
Uh, well, the community engagement is key at the start when you are just beginning your token, when you need a lot of person-to-person marketing, when you need like personalized advice, just the word of mouth spreading, then it is key. If the token community engagement is always important, but if it falls off a little after launch and then gets back up, it's not the end of the world for the token. However, if it's never been there to begin with, or if it never recovers, that's the end for it. So community engagement is very important. And as I mentioned in the beginning of our talk, why is marketing so important? Is because it helps you drive community engagement through fresh blood strategies. Um, and if we're talking outside of marketing, we're talking with work with the existing community, then community engagement for example, meme coins, it's the key of that utility because if the community doesn't engage, meme coin cannot have any utility. If the community is not engaged, some other tokens which have like that participation utility, for example, voting power or something else built in their token, without engagement, that utility also doesn't work, so the token also will slump and go down. It's not a long-term option. So community engagement is very important, of course.
Yeah, I agree, and especially on meme coin, that was great to highlight. And we would like to know from you, how does tokenomics impact growth and sustainability of a tokens?
Honestly, at launch, unless the tokenomics is really messed up, like there is, for example, if it's not a fair launch, if it's like a fair launch, then basically outside of token flows, outside of utility, there is no tokenomics to speak of. Uh, so it doesn't really matter for fair launches. Uh, the tokenomics in the classical sense of how the tokens are spread between early investors and the community sale, the team reserves, etc., is actually very important at any stage, because if it's written incorrectly, for example, if there is too big of an unlock at the start, and the project doesn't have enough reserves to buy it out immediately, the price will just crash, and that will be really hard to salvage. Uh, Out of that, for classical tokens, which do not go for fair launches, tokenomics later on is important in managing the pressure, because there's going to be some sell pressure from the early investors, because like VCs need to get their money back. It's not that they don't believe in a project when they exit, it's just business for them because they need to exit at some point. They're VCs. That's like the whole point of a VC, to flip into the market and get the new next exciting project. And then after launch, it's the job of retail investors and long-term investors to hold, not up to VCs. So we have to understand that that money has to change hands. And lockups and vesting periods, vesting schedules, and the way they're structured. For example, if it's a daily vesting or a weekly vesting or a monthly vesting, is very important for both the community, the project, and the market maker to work around, because we've seen a lot of cases when market makers really help tokens grow through an unlock. Basically, two strategies for a project to manage an unlock. Either they short their token a little before an unlock and then use all the money they have to buy it back to get back up, as to reward the community for holding through the unlock as soon as possible. Or just before an unlock or during an unlock, they offload all the extra capital they can, injecting into the market and showing the strength of the market, that it can walk through the unlock unscathed. And we've seen many cases, like hundreds of cases of either. Very rarely successful tokens do anything else, because essentially if you do nothing, then you're basically guaranteed a downturn unless your chart is very, very bullish throughout the unlocks, which depends like on the length of the unlocks, because there are like 3 years vesting periods and 1 month vesting periods, depending on the kind of token you're going for. So basically, after launch, tokenomics in sense of token distribution, initial token distribution, is important in managing the pressure. Because if the pressure is too much, it's too quick, and the project cash flow cannot match it. For example, the service the project is based around can generate enough cash flow, or the community, for if it's a meme coin or some community-based coin, is not strong enough to quickly absorb all of that, all of those tokens outflowing from the VCs, then the project is basically doomed unless more money from like OTC deals can be found to inject into the token. However, if it's well managed, if the market maker is working around the vesting schedule, which they approved and helped design, then that basically cannot happen unless the project economy itself is not balanced, unless either the community is not growing, or in case of community-based tokens, or in case of like strictly utility-based tokens, the platform or the service they're built around doesn't generate enough income to cover the cost of the unlocks, or there wasn't enough money put into the treasury at launch to manage the unlocks. So short term, unless the tokenomics, to sum it up, to short term, unless the tokenomics is really messed up, it doesn't matter at launch, it doesn't matter for the first week or a couple of weeks. But long term, tokenomics can really screw a project over if it's not built by a competent specialist and not reviewed with their market maker and their financial advisors.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is a lot around this topic to get knowledge, like especially if you don't really understand the market. So I think, like on personal opinion, market maker, it is very, very important. Of course, everything is, but it's one of the most important things. And we would like to ask you, what strategies can projects use to build trust and credibility on the market?
The best way to build trust in a token is getting through the hard times with it, because many tokens appear on the beginnings of a bull market at the spring of altcoins. They all appear and many of them quickly die. However, if a project is long term, if it can really weather a market downturn, that's the best way to build trust. Like the big meme coins, for example, like Pepe and Doge, are around because they've been around forever. They're too big to fail at this point. Everyone knows they survived the downturn. Everyone knows they will likely survive the next one. So people are not panicking out of them. The community is sure about them, and they're used as speculative instruments, as community tokens, etc., etc. They have utilities. They have teams that can build around them. That's how it should be. Like, that's the ideal scenario. If we're talking short term, like not just because like it's easy to say that just survive for 2 years and everyone's gonna know you and everyone's gonna be sure you're legit. You have to survive those 2 years somehow. You have to show that you're strong enough. You have to get that trust beforehand. And if we're talking about short-term trust building, firstly, you have to live for your unlocks if they're really short, because that's kind of the small market downturn in terms of your market and your microcosm. That's the little apocalypse you have to live through if they're not managed if they're not like designed perfectly. With the other than that, working with the community, showing to them that whatever happens, you're around. Never going dark, never keeping them frustrated. Just always being there for your community, always telling them exactly what you're doing as a project, being fully transparent with your finance, with your wallets if that's possible within your structure. Uh, that's the best way probably to build trust. Doesn't really matter what jurisdiction you're working in. It doesn't really matter what entity you're working from. It does matter who you're working with. For example, working with a legit market maker, with a custodian for your treasury, like with very trustworthy community opinion leaders, with uh, known figures in the industry. That also like helps a lot, but that's not an avenue available for anyone, because obviously if you have in your circle this or that important person whom you can like mm, reach out for some help with token marketing, for support, for work on the token itself. Of course, everyone will. Of course, everyone will use it. So those people don't really want to know how to build trust around the token. They have it like built in. Uh, Talking about the others, it's just transparency and showing the energy, showing that you're always present, showing that you're always around, showing that whatever happens, like BTC falls 20% that day, you're there, you're with them, you're developing. Whatever happens, you're building through it.
Yeah, that's nice to highlight because personally, I always go and look on the community, on the socials, and whatever they're doing. I think it's quite important to not let your community down, really. And on a borrowing side, I would like to ask you, how do regulatory challenges affect the success of a new token?
Honestly, regulatory challenges mm, are not usually a huge factor unless it's either a gigantic project, like if it's a top 50 CMC, it's really noticed by the government, it's really like legally scrutinized, then it is important. For everyone else, for every other project out there, if we're talking like a billion in market cap, unless we're talking top 50, we should not really concern ourselves with regulatory challenges if the jurisdiction for token launch is chosen correctly. For example, probably not the best idea to choose like an incredibly crypto unfriendly country with unclear regulations to launch a token that's gonna like hunt you after that. For example, probably UK is not the best registration for a company that starts a token. Um, However, if you're choosing a relatively friendly jurisdiction, like for example UAE, you should be golden. And what we're seeing, like the regulatory challenges we're seeing with our clients, are mostly just because like they with the all older tokens that exist have been around for a while, that registered themselves in a jurisdiction that used to be friendly. For example, like UK used to be quite okay, then it got bad, and that's basically all they had to do is re-register um, all of their companies into a different jurisdiction that was more crypto friendly, so centralized exchanges could continue their partnership with them. So they didn't face any huge risks. I'd say just choose a jurisdiction wisely, preferably choose a jurisdiction that already has clear crypto regulations, like for example UAE. Instead of choosing a country which just does not regulate, because does not regulate tends to at some point turn into really harsh regulation, uh, and that might blindside you. So if you're in a country that does not regulate as of yet, have a fallback jurisdiction, have like your lawyers be, or if you're yourself managing that, be ready to move the legal entities you're working with to a more friendly jurisdiction, and make sure it's all right so it doesn't like spook anyone you're working with. Make sure you tell them why you're doing it, why it is important for you to change jurisdictions, that you're not just fleeing some fiscal responsibility, but you are just moving to a friendlier, a crypto friendlier jurisdiction that will allow your project to grow. So either start in a well regulated, friendly jurisdiction, or have a fallback be ready, because the regulators might come after every project, and it's not about you. It's not about the project itself doing anything wrong. You might be the angel of crypto, just not doing anything wrong at all, ever, just following every law there is, consulting your lawyer. But if, for example, someone else in the industry, if another FTX falls, if whatever happens, they're going to come after you, they're going to look for you, and they're going to scrutinize you in a way that you're not going to enjoy. If No matter how clean you are, it's going to be a huge disruption to your service. Is going to be a disruption to everything you're doing.
Yeah, that's quite tough. It's the reality. But on a data side, I would like to ask you, what marketing tactics have proven most effective for promoting tokens currently?
Lately, what we're seeing as most effective depends on the kind of token. If we're talking meme coins, then it's community. Then it's huge events that help you build audience. For example, like shows, giveaways, instead of like KOL partnerships. Even if it's huge celebrities, celebrity tokens usually don't do well after the first couple of weeks, maybe a month. The best performing celebrity tokens of this year are down like 30-40% since listing, and that's the best. The rest of them are just in the gutter, not because they were dumped, not because those celebrities themselves are like scammers and want to just get the money out of the token, but usually because they really don't know what they're doing. They have like a token team and the celebrity team separate. The celebrity team is managing the celebrity team is like managing some kind of marketing around the token. They're managing their star, and the token team is managing the token like completely independently of the celeb itself. They usually don't have like strict hands-on control. Doesn't bode well usually, because the token distributions are messed up, or the community work is not really there. Because if you have a creator of a meme coin, he, for example, he's usually always there, hands on. He's looking his token 24/7. He doesn't sleep for the first month. He's always engaged, always looking for opportunities to develop it, working with the community, being there, present. And the huge celebrity just cannot do that because of their schedule. They won't do that because it's not their main thing. They don't want to be as strictly connected to it, because if, for example, a huge celebrity makes a token and just calls it on Twitter a couple times, if it goes badly, it doesn't really hurt their reputation much. But if they are engaged with it 24/7, if they're like streaming about it all the time, just attaching their name to it as much as possible, it can hurt their reputation a lot if it fails. Much more than it would otherwise. So they're not usually that engaged. It doesn't go well. That's the celebrity marketing. If we're talking KOL marketing, it's usually effective for very short-term kind of growth, like get 15 minutes to an hour, maybe initiate a day of good growth, get some fresh audience. But people who are following KOLs or calling crypto tokens are usually very speculative audiences. They're not like the huge investors, whales looking for long-term things. They are usually more opportunistic traders. So it brings volume, it brings in purchases, it brings in fresh audience, but they're pretty short term. If you're looking for long term, like marketing bringing long term audience, it's either word of mouth marketing, which is amazing always, or it is marketing through channels that are more about long-term engagement. For example, on average, YouTube marketing brings in more quality buyers who will be more active members of your community, more committed holders of your token than, for example, a call out in Telegram channel, or a call on an X group, on an X on the next account, relatively mid-sized account, for example. So really think what you need at this moment. If you like are ready to invest as a project a lot of money into bringing a lot of quality holders, then look to more long form formats like YouTube marketing, like articles, like engagement driving programs, longer kind of engagement driving programs. And if you have like, if you're strapped for cash at the moment, but need really an injection into the token to get it to grow, to just give it a kick, then a KOL marketing or a celeb marketing could be your way, could be like a relatively cheaper per user way of getting something short term and then managing later on through different means, through more long-term holders, through the work of the existing community. Maybe you can convert those speculative holders, like convince them somehow to hold, through incentives, through just showing them how amazing your community is and how how they can enjoy being a part of it by holding this token and contribute to it, of course.
Yeah, yeah. End of the day, you got to be consistent. And Fedor, thank you so much for clarifying everything around tokens and all. We look forward to see you at the Digen Summit. And it was a pleasure to host you today. Do you have any final words to tell the audience?
Yeah, I think that I should just reiterate how important it is to consider every little part of your project and never forget about a single thing. How you cannot just like build a good product but not worry about your marketing or market making. How you can like hire the best market maker, but if you're not doing any work on the project itself, if you're not building your product, if you're not working with your community, it also won't work long term. How important it is to keep all those factors balanced and have a token team that is completely engaged in the token, that just doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, just forgets everything, and is fully engaged into your community, into building the product that they have. If it's a strict utility thing, if it's a DeFi service, then you should strive to have really committed developers, really committed team that will get you through the hard times, whatever comes around, and that will really build the best services around. If you're talking community-based stuff, you should have the most committed community builders around there, just hosting around them the right kind of people for your token. So balance and consideration for all factors important for a token growth, and never omitting any single of those things. That's the way to build the most successful token statistically.
Thank you. Thank you. And where can we find you on socials?
Um, well, you can find me in Vortex, in an official Vortex Global Twitter account. You can find us on. You can also find us on Instagram and Medium. So we're posting sometimes about successful cases. We're posting about trends in the market. So come to our Twitter X account, give us a read. Always appreciated.
Thank you. And we look forward to see you at the event. Thank you guys for attending today's live, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and get your tickets. This is Voice of Crypto and Digen Summit, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.